Good morning, Denise Dryden. I'm here in Bainbridge Island. I'm on my fourth attempt to do a live Wi-Fi. I'm in this Madrone Lane Square, which is next to the Blackbird, which is a great place for pastries and coffee and all sorts of things. And if you watch some of my earlier attempts, I'm on Bainbridge. It's 34 degrees out and sort of raining, snowing. So it's a little cold out there. Hi, Kelly. So glad you hung in there and waited for me. So today I want to talk about sensitives and oppositional defiance and how they sort of dovetail and work back and forth, right? So to define a sensitive, again, it's when we have like up to 17 different neurological traits that stimulate and provide information more than 80% of the population. So it's about 20% of us who are sensitives have input coming in from a variety of different places other than just the day-to-day, right? So it means that we can get overstimulated. It means that we can get overwhelmed really easily. And when we're in that sort of state of hyper vigilance and overwhelm, we produce a lot of cortisol, right? And so cortisol is going to increase things like that fearful, threatened mood. It's gonna bring up fear. It's gonna bring up a little bit of fight or flight. It also means that there's a lack of sleep, the inability to sort of totally relax at night. So sleep becomes a problem in exhaustion. Overvigilance, like we talked about, and over-arousal or agitation. So think about it, you know, when we've got all these cortisol levels coming in and we start to get agitated, it triggers some things like events. Like for me, right now, I'm so over-agitated because I've tried 3 times at a little coffee house with a heater, you know, and a warm cup of coffee to do this, and it didn't work, right? So like, I'm like, which makes sense, right? Triggers, existing issues. So events that happen triggers, existing issues that sort of start to pile up, or new and unknown issues like, that came out of me from left field. I don't know what to do with that, right? So when all of that overwhelm happens, usually what we see in sensitives is they do one of 2 things. They implode and become like that turtle. They pull everything in, isolate, withdraw, self-medicate, you know, with toys, video games, reading books, anything that takes them into that quiet internal space. And I call it turtling, right? Or the other one is that they become really angry and agitated, and it comes out as, no, leave me alone, which makes sense, right? So it's sort of outward. And the term that I use is volcanoing. It's like we can go along on a certain level, and then all of a sudden that one last little piece is going to tip us, and it's like, boom, here it comes. So oppositional defiance makes sense as a sensitive as to what, you know, sort of characteristics start to tap, you know, bug, and then some of that explosion. So what happens is, you know, we get angry. We get irritable, we argue, we like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not listening to you. Go away. You're part of the problem, so leave me alone. And it's always aimed externally at somebody outside of themselves. So it's usually that victim energy in full-blown reaction. You know, it's that victim like, I have no control over any of this. It's all your fault. It goes towards parents, position of authority. It's when we feel out of control, when there's somebody from the outside that's causing some agitation. We feel disempowered, reactionary, blaming, as I said, stuck, annoyed, resentful. You can lose your temper. And then there's always that refusal, like, hey, Denise, no. You don't even want to hear what I say. No, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. I'm not going to do anything you want me to do, and I'm going to defy everything that you say because I've identified that you're the source of my problems, which is where a lot of oppositional defiance comes from, right? They also destroy things in order to just make a point, like grades, like their health, like their clothing, like, you know, anything that they can do to just sort of say, you know, forget you. Not doing anything that you want me to do. I'm going to be as defiant as humanly possible because I don't know how to manage myself, but I'm going to make it about you. Oppositional defiance is usually also accompanied with things like anxiety, ADHD, learning disorders, depression. And it's what happens is it creates this persistent pattern of anger, irritability, arguing, defending, and defiance towards others, right? And it just keeps building up. Usually it's aimed at those who they are closest to, because as we know, children and spouses and people in our lives, they are going to show us their ugliest sides because they feel like it's safe. I can show you how snarly and ugly and prickly I am, because you're going to love me no matter what happens. So they, sort of like that porcupine. It's like they get triggered, they get angry, they get irritable, they get annoyed, they get overwhelmed, and all the quills go out. Or another analogy is like the Great Hulk. They just turn into this big, angry green monster. Or like Beauty and the Beast, where he's sort of curious, and then as soon as he gets pinned on something, just turns into this roaring, slashing, angry beast, right? It just makes sense that that's something underneath, is that the victim is being stirred up. So approaches to use with oppositional defiance. I've been working a lot with families on this. It's all about empowerment. It's being able to step past the quills, past the snarkiness, and past the anger, and sort of talk to that really hurt inner victim and find out what is it that you need right now, So to see beyond the outer behavior, to be responsive, receptive, flexible, to listen, to have really deep listening skills. I've got a whole little family walking by. It's adorable. Lower their levels of defensiveness. And what happens is it's really hard for us, because when somebody says no and they put a big defiant in front of us, we sort of react it the same way, and we get bigger, and then they get bigger, and then we get bigger, and we're in this power struggle. So in order to address oppositional defiance, the first thing to do is slow it down. Meet them where they are. Calm your own internal system down. Be responsive, as I said. Model how you calm yourself down and reach through those prickly behaviors, and speak honestly, openly, with authenticity at all times. Do not get into shame or blame, like if you did this or you're doing this again, or all those little pieces that we do as parents when we've really had it up to here, or in partnerships where we're just so done with being blamed for everything. So in order to take a step back, then we come in and we model what it is we want them to be able to do. We build ownership and self-awareness. I'm noticing that when you talk like that I get triggered. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and I'm going to go stand over here and take a deep breath and relax. And then I'm going to come back and let's just talk about what just happened. Let go of expectations, schedules, rigidity. The most important thing to do with a kiddo or a partner who's overwhelmed is to just drop the schedule and go, something is really happening here. What do I do to get back on the same page with you? What can I do to help you calm yourself down? And identify on a scale of 1, 2 or 3, small, medium, or large. How big is this one right now? And how apt are you to sort of go into anger and start to help them manage it? Because what we want to do is teach them how to manage their behavior. So I'll give you an example. When we have an overscheduled child, a child who, I'm going to use an example, the youngest child of 3 really active, older kids, on the go all the time, right? And there's soccer, and there's homework, and there's choir, and there's all sorts of things going on. They're tired. They're behind schedule. They feel too much pressure. And, pick the times, whether it's the mornings getting up and getting out to school, whether it's the time when they come home and they have to sort of hustle to get ready for something, or nighttime when they have to sort of bring it all together. When are the times when the triggers happen the most? And then, and there's things that they have to do. Like the example I'm going to use is you've got a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old who has to get up in the morning, have food, get food packed for lunch, get out the door on time in order to get to school. These are all high pressure scenarios that are going to cause that volcano experience, that explosion. And, anything that we say, which is you're late, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you better hurry, what are you wearing, it's too cold out for that outfit, any kind of judgment about their choices, any kind of imposed schedule is going to cause that critical like implosion where they're going to go, oh my God, expectations are too high and timelines, and then there's all these emotional things going on, and then it's like boom, reaction, right? So going full circle, when we notice that we have a sensitive that's in overwhelm, we have to calm the system down. We have to model authenticity and communication and responsiveness. So this is the kind of stuff that I do. I'm a coach. You can always find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and we can work with oppositional defiance. We can work with isolation. We can work with a lot of different pieces. Just let me know if you're curious, okay? Have a great Sunday and stay warm because it's freezing out here. You take care. Bye-bye.